Are you ready? We're gonna jump out of the helicopter into the center of North America! Are you ready?
Dude, you know what, Jamie? I don't think this is such a good idea. I mean, my arm is still in a sling from my traumatic injury.
Yeah, writing a bunch of letters home to your family is certainly traumatic.
Well, I told you I didn't want to leave anybody out.
Jen, don't worry, okay? Look, there's a target, just like this one, all the way down there, so just aim for it.
I don't like heights at the best of times.
Whoa.
No! This is madness, I tell you! Madness!
Woo. Here I go! Yes!
I did it! I'm queen of the world!
Yes, the center of North America!
In this episode of CG Kids, we travel to the very center of North America, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Then it's time to brush up on our curling skills with 15-year-old Elizabeth Peters.
We do a little weather watching at the Prairie Storm Prediction Center.
And then it's off on some fabulous fossil finding at the Mariash Quarry.
In Jay's geology, I do some shockingly good work at whipping up a tornado.
Rocks, and run! All on this episode of CG Kids.
That's a fast one.
Geographic Kids.
We are in Winnipeg, which is the biggest city in Manitoba, and it's also the capital. It has been called the heart of the continent and also the bullseye of the Dominion because it lies right in the center of North America.
Now, Winnipeg is also known as the gateway to the West because it sits right where the rocky land and forests of the Canadian Shield end and Canada's vast prairies begin.
Okay, whoa! That's it, we're here! This is the center of the city. 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4.
Jamie, what you doing?
Well, Jen, since Winnipeg is apparently in the center of North America, it makes sense that from here to the Pacific Ocean is the same distance as from here to the Atlantic Ocean, so I'm just gonna check for accuracy.
Hold on a second. You're gonna walk?
5, 6, yep, 7.
Okay. Wait. Isn't that gonna take forever?
You're making me lose count. Come on. Okay, wow.
Okay, Jay, just how many steps we talking about here?
Let's see. 4,460,000. But if Jamie were to walk all the way, he'd find out that Winnipeg is nearly dead center. Starting from Winnipeg, it's about 2,300 kilometers to the Atlantic Ocean if you go east, and almost the same distance to the Pacific if you go west. And it's also around the same distance to North America's north and south points, about 3,800 kilometers. Right now, Jennifer and Jamie aren't just at the center of the continent, they're also at the center of the reason that the city of Winnipeg grew. Manitoba sits between Saskatchewan and Ontario. If I click on the population markers, you can see that Winnipeg is the largest city in the province. Winnipeg sits at the location where the Red and Assiniboine rivers meet up and join together. This is called the confluence. You can see how the roads also lead in and out of this central area. Winnipeg began as the meeting spot for early nomadic First Nations people 6,000 years ago. The city then developed as a stopover for the fur traders who used both of the rivers for transportation. It became a permanent settlement in 1812. Some people call the city Winterpeg because of the extremely cold temperatures that sweep down from polar air masses in the wintertime. But Winnipeg actually comes from the Cree word Winnipeg, which means murky water. It was named after this large lake, located about 64 kilometers north of the city, which I'm assuming the Cree must have thought was a pretty muddy lake.
148, 249, 250.
250,000, 300,500.
Oh! Yeah.
Hey guys, we are here at the Forks National Historic Site of Canada, right near the Assiniboine and Red Rivers.
And because it's such a famous meeting point for thousands of years, we thought it would be a great idea to meet Elizabeth Peters right here.
You know, I can't take credit for that. I'm glad you called her. It was your idea.
No, you were supposed to phone her.
No, Jamie, it was your idea.
No,
you were.
you were.
I wasn't going to phone her. You were going to phone her.
Hello?
Hi guys.
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Elizabeth, how did you know you to be here?
Because where else would you meet someone in Winnipeg but the Forks?
Okay, I'm
yeah.
so glad you're here. Do you want to show us around?
Yeah, let's go.
See,
Okay.
Jamie was supposed to call you, and I was so afraid to miss it.
Elizabeth showed us some of the First Nation sculptures at the Forks. This one is of early hunters disguised as wolves as they herd and hunt bison.
This amazing sculpture is called the Path of Time, and it depicts the movement of Canada's early people from east to west. It's made of melted bronze and limestone, which is over 400 million years old.
So, Liz, have you lived here in Winnipeg your whole life?
Yeah, I was born here.
And do you like living here?
Well, as you can tell, it's a little chilly out here.
Yeah.
It's kind of cold at times.
Have you ever heard Winterpeg?
Ha, that's a good one. Yeah, I've definitely heard that one.
Jamie, real original.
It has a thriving art scene.
You know, I'm not really into the whole art scene, but I can see how that would be a major attraction.
What are
here.
you into?
I'm more into the, sports and,
The sports
sorta.
scene, huh?
So what kind of sports do you play?
well, I play whatever I can. Volleyball, basketball, badminton, soccer, curling.
Oh, that's cool. Curling.
Yeah.
What got you into curling?
Well, my dad's been a curler for lots of years, and it just runs in my family, so.
Oh.
Okay, because I totally am dying for a new hairstyle. So I was wondering if you guys can curl, then maybe I could get like a little bit of a twist.
Not that kind of curling.
Okay, so what kind of curling are you talking about?
Oh, that kind of curling. Elizabeth gave us a rundown on the proper equipment we need.
And so this is what we're going to use to slide on the ice with. As you can see, they're both white and very...
This is a very smooth surface.
Woo!
And also, there's a grip on the other shoe so that you don't fall when you're sliding.
Is that the puck?
That's the rock, Jen.
What? Sorry. Okay. First of all, what's that made out of?
Granite.
It's a heavy rock.
How heavy is that?
About 40 pounds about.
What is the whole object of the game with the rocks and the sweeping? What are you trying to do?
Well, pretty much what you're trying to do is get your rock closer to the button than your opponent.
Closer
sum
to
it all
the
up.
middle of the bullseye than the opposite team.
Yeah.
And does the opposite team try and knock yours out of the way?
Yeah.
How do I throw a stone?
All right, you want your slider foot to go back.
Yeah.
And then you want your gripper foot to trail behind you.
Pointed toe.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Can we throw one and you'll show me how sweeping goes?
Sure.
Okay. Elizabeth explained that after you throw the rock, two of your team players sweep to help the rock go in the right direction. Sweeping breaks the top surface of the ice so the rock goes faster.
It's going.
That's sort of a bit of a hockey method you've got going there.
I'm perfecting the one arm in a sling technique.
Here we go.
Whoa. Whoa. Oh, yes.
Okay, so Liz, we weren't really playing an actual game of curling, correct?
Correct.
We were missing how many
player.
people? Okay, so how many players are there? There's the
4. There's the lead, the second, the third, and the skip.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry I'm late. Oh my goodness.
Eldon, what you doing here?
I'm here to curl.
You missed the whole lesson. Do you even know how to curl?
Of course I do. Look, I brought my mop.
Okay, if you're so good, why don't you show us, Mr. Curler?
Do you even have the proper shoes? You need one with the slider and one with the grip on it.
Well, I got gum on one of my shoes. Come on.
Alden, you're supposed to let go of the rock. Let go of the rock.
It's that time again.
Time to get your umbrella!
No, it's time to get your galoshes.
No, it's actually triviography time. We were just trying to give you a hint to the answer.
The question is, what is cumulonimbus?
Cumulonimbus?
And it's not the guy who discovered North America.
Christopher Columbus?
And it's not the fabled place that Greek gods lived.
Mount Olympus!
Don't get a cloudy head waiting for the answer.
Yeah, get your head out of the clouds.
Now, one of the many interesting and, well, kind of scary things about Manitoba is its severe weather.
The central part of this country has winds that blow up to 200 kilometers an hour. That's thunderstorms, hailstorms, and even tornadoes.
Now, keeping up with this weather is quite the challenge, but predicting the storms is very important. And it's all done beneath us at the Prairie Storm Prediction Center.
The Prairie Storm Prediction Center monitors and predicts weather conditions from the border with Ontario across to eastern British Columbia.
What are the basic things you use to predict the weather?
The big ones, satellite, radar, those are pretty standard in weather forecasting. Weather maps, we look at remote video cameras, which we have in some of our observing stations, so I can take a look at what's happening in the Arctic. One of the things big things we have is hundreds of places where there are automatic weather stations taking minute by minute or hour by hour observations. We have thousands of weather watchers who watch, especially in the summer, the thunderstorms for us and let us know when there's hail or wind or rain or even tornadoes.
Where does the moisture come from and where does the wind come from?
Our most severe thunderstorms, the moisture comes up from the Gulf of Mexico, and we watch it from day to day as it gradually creeps northward on the southerly wind. The winds themselves are generated from many different places, sometimes from big weather systems, sometimes from the thunderstorms themselves.
Now what's that? It looks like there's a rainbow around the sun.
Well, that's another famous part of the Manitoba sky, Jamie. Those are called sundogs, and what they are is we have ice crystals in the air right now, and you can see them falling, and these are just the light from the sun shining through those crystals like little prisms. When you see a little rainbow on each side of the sun, it's considered to be a sign of good weather.
I am here with Pat McCarthy, and he's a severe weather meteorologist, and we're standing in the middle of a weather station.
That's correct.
How many of these are in Canada?
Hundreds in Canada, and actually across North America, probably about 1,000, and around the world, maybe 10,000 of these things. Behind us is the Stevenson screen. This is where we measure the temperature and the humidity. This really tall one is 10 meters high. It's called an anemometer. It's measuring the wind speed and the wind direction.
And what does that one do?
And this big fancy one here is collects both rain and snow. What it does is collect the snow, drops it inside, melts it, and figures out how much liquid was in that snow that fell.
And you would find weather stations like this, like in Bulgaria?
All around the world. There's very few now that are run by people. Most of them are automated like this, big computers that are just collecting this information 24 hours a day, every day of the year, forever and ever and ever.
The center also relies on good old-fashioned weather balloons. They've been used to help predict the weather for over 100 years.
So these weather balloons, what do you actually learn from them?
They tell us what the temperature is and what the humidity is like, how much moisture there is way up there.
How do you get this information from these balloons?
Well, the balloon has a little instrument package attached to it, and it'll tell us all that we need to know.
How long do these balloons stay in the air?
Well, they'll be up there for a couple hours before they finally burst and make their long plunge down to the ground.
While they're in the air, a radio transmitter attached to the balloon records and sends information back to the center's computers. But I'm going to collect the information myself.
Bend your knees when you land.
Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad. Love everybody. Here we go.
Okay. Give us good weather. Good weather.
I should never have had that burrito for lunch. Oh.
There we go.
Woo! Look at it go.
Bye, balloon.
Hey, Jen, look! That one looks like a moose!
Oh, please. Jamie, that is totally a princess holding a tennis racket, walking a dog. See, you know, you've really got to brush up on your cloud shapes. Oh, ha! Hey, guys, it's Triviography answer time.
And we have been giving way too many hints, but this is a tough one. What is cumulonimbus?
Cumulonimbus. That's a tough one, but the answer is actually quite simple. A cumulonimbus is a cloud, but a rather dangerous one. There are all kinds of different clouds, and meteorologists have names for all of them. Each cloud can tell you something different about the weather. The cumulonimbus cloud rises like a mountain and is fairly dense. It produces heavy rain and thunderstorms, but it can also produce much more violent storms, like hailstorms. Cumulonimbus clouds can also produce the most destructive storm of all, the tornado. Canada gets around 80 tornadoes a year, but when they do occur, it's often in Manitoba.
We are just 20 kilometers north of Winnipeg, and it's hard to imagine that this snowy, dry landscape was once covered by a shallow sea.
But it is true. In fact, some paleontologists call this sea the Red River Stony Mountain Sea, and it covered way more than just Manitoba. This ancient sea covered almost 2/3 of North America about 440 million years ago. But today, the only remnants of any ancient prairie sea in this area is Lake Winnipeg.
This sea left other evidence of its existence. It left fossils!
We are here at the Stony Mountain Quarry, and we're gonna do a little fossil hunting with paleontologist Ed Dobransky.
Hi, guys.
Hey, wait a minute, you're not a fossil!
It's Ed!
Ed!
He's gonna show us some fossils.
Hey, Ed. What kind of rocks are these?
The rocks here in this quarry are mainly limestone.
What is a quarry?
A quarry is a place where they excavate rock for commercial uses. Some quarries are in volcanic rock, so it depends entirely on the type of rock and what value it has commercially.
So how old is this limestone that we're looking at right here?
This rock here would average about 445 million years. We determined the age of the rocks in this quarry mainly on the basis of fossils. We examine the fossils and then we compare them to other parts of North America where we know the ages already.
What kind of fossils have you found in this particular quarry?
Well, this particular area I've done a lot of work on, and I've concentrated mainly on the brachiopods and on the corals.
Time for some fossil hunting. Brachiopod, over here. Brachiopod. That has nothing to do with a clam.
No, it has no relation to a clam whatsoever, an entirely different animal. These are all invertebrates, all animals without backbones.
And most of the sea was filled with things without backbones back then.
If you went to a modern coral reef and removed all the fish, you'd have a pretty good idea of the sort of environment that you'd be looking at. This is a coral. It's been broken up. But you can see the cells. This is how big it is.
Oh, holy!
There's the width of the coral, and it's about this high.
445 million year old piece of coral.
Yeah.
Back inside, Ed showed Jamie and I a cool way to clean fossils using this jewelry cleaner that pounds the dirt out with ultrasonic sound waves. I'll let Jamie do it the old-fashioned way. Ew! That looks like it's alive.
Yeah, it looks like
It's fleshy.
quite a beast.
Hey, the dangerous horned coral leaps out from the seabed and grabs Jamie in the ear.
They say that animals are pretty good weather predictors. For centuries, there have been stories about animals getting restless before a storm. My dog Igneous here even gets whiny and nervous before it rains. But just looking around at Mother Nature like Jennifer and Jamie did could give you a pretty good idea of what might be ahead. When a thunderstorm is coming, warm, moist air rises, forming tall, dark clouds. And when we see this, we're pretty good at predicting what's on its way. Every day, around 40,000 thunderstorms occur throughout the world. This adds up to more than 14 million a year, making them the most common storm occurrence on the Earth. But sometimes these storms can turn into something more destructive, a tornado. Even the word gets Iggy agitated. Let's head inside and find out what causes lightning, thunder, and tornadoes. Lightning is a dramatic part of a thunderstorm and also dangerous. It can cause damage to buildings and people. Lightning happens when static electricity builds up in storm clouds. If you've ever touched a doorknob and gotten a shock, you know about the effects of static electricity. This type of electricity occurs when the protons, electrons, and neutrons that are found in all matter get thrown out of whack. I'm attaching this pencil to this aluminum pie plate so I have a handle to hang on to. Then I'm going to rub this styrofoam plate with a wool scarf to build up some static electricity. In a thunderstorm, air currents and moisture move around so much that the electric charges accumulate, causing a spark or lightning. Or in my case, an electric shock. Sometimes a thunderstorm can create a tornado. A tornado is defined as a violently rotating column of air that extends from the ground to the clouds. They've been known to travel at speeds of up to 509 kilometers an hour. Let's see if we can create some tornado conditions. As with most storms, there's water involved. So first, I'll create a moist atmosphere. I'm putting gloves on because I'm handling something called dry ice, which has a temperature of minus 78 degrees Celsius. Dry ice is actually a frozen gas called carbon dioxide. It doesn't melt into water. Instead, it changes into gas, which we can see. Let's pretend this dry ice is wind. Some scientists believe that when two winds traveling at different altitudes and speeds meet, they rotate around each other. Then if there's an updraft, similar to my fan, this ends up tightening the wind into a funnel. This creates a destructive tornado. Inside the swirling rising air, an area of low pressure forms, and this makes the tornado able to suck up anything in its path. So what do you think, Iggy? Are you up for another walk? It's only raining out a little.
A fantastic fact about Winnipeg is that it inspired the name for one of the world's most famous bears. In 1914, World War I Captain Harry Colborne took a black bear cub from White River, Ontario, to England as his regiment's mascot. He named the bear after his hometown Winnipeg, calling it Winnie for short. When he shipped out for France, he donated the bear to the London Zoo, where writer A.A. Milne and his son Christopher Robin fell in love with him. Soon Milne wrote stories of a boy named Christopher Robin and a bear named Winnie the Pooh.
You know what, Mr. Shannon, I must say this was a brilliant idea, taking the train from Winnipeg. You know, not that I was afraid of the helicopter or anything.
And Jennifer, did you realize that this railroad was built in 1908?
Okay, wait, is this train still running?
Well, of course it is. And you know what? We gotta go. It's leaving soon.
Jamie, this train looks really old. Are you sure?
Of course I am. Look, it says track 3. There we are.
Okay, well, that says track 5.
Whoa!
Jamie, we're at the Railway Museum. Look, that's our train over there. Run!
Brush those teeth.
Okay, Dave, I'll help you out here. I'm just gonna,
I know how to skip.
Okay.
I just skip on this. Oh!